the coalition yet, and that's a deference to our Monsignor Tellish, who's 92 years old. We have, he's concerned about his welfare right now. We still have not received a response back from Bishop Lennon as far as a closing date for our church, so he has requested that we stay somewhat in the back burner yet. But believe me, once we get that closing date, which I'm sure is going to happen, we will certainly join the coalition. I've been involved with Peter in the background and with Nancy as well, and I appreciate all the information that they've given to us. So, St. Casimir's was started way back in 1892, very similar as to most of the ethnic parishes. Immigrants came into Cleveland, settled in the area where we're located, which is in the University Circle area. If you know of Martin Luther King Boulevard, we are about halfway between the Shoreway and the cultural district, or the museums, and we're up the Ansel Road Hill. So that's basically where our church is. I won't bore you with all the details of the history. It's very similar to everyone else's. We were clustered with Our Lady of Lourdes Parish, St. Stanislaus Parish, and St. Hyacinth's. All of those parishes are in the Slavic Village area of Cleveland, nowhere near where St. Casimir's is. We thought that certainly was a yellow to red flag for us right away, because how in the world were we going to try to figure out to merge our parish in a different location from the rest of the parishes? All three of those other parishes were historically Polish Slavic. You know, it did have an ethnic background, and St. Stan's is still very much a Polish parish. St. Hyacinth at the very beginning said, we have no money, we have very little parishioners, they are agreeing to close. So they sort of were not even involved in the equation of what was going to transpire with their cluster process, in knowing that they wanted to go ahead and close. So it left the three of us. Our Lady of Lourdes deals basically right now with the Hispanic community in Cleveland. They are in extreme financial trouble. They were basing a lot of their financial means to support their church in the future by selling their school for $1.1 million. And they claimed that they had someone who was already willing to buy that school. We never saw any data saying that they had that. With the economy that is, we doubt sincerely that that is certainly an accurate figure, but that is what they based a lot of their finances on. They also claimed that a lot of their parishioners, actually all of their parishioners, did not drive, that they all walked to church, and that because of that, they could not merge with St. Stan's, which is basically a 10-minute walk from Our Lady of Lourdes. St. Stan's said that they didn't have the facilities, the capabilities of the priests, etc., to be able to have Our Lady of Lourdes merge with them. Yet they, at that point, had, I believe, 3 or 4 priests in residence, and were actively working on getting priests from their outlying community, including a Spanish-speaking priest. So things just didn't seem right to us. The meeting was decided upon that St. Casimir's Church would close. We are in excellent financial condition, very, very solvent. We have 2 priests, our Monsignor, who's 92 years old. Granted, he's a little old, but look at the age of a lot of the popes that we have had. They were well into their 80s, some were into their 90s when they were the head of the entire Roman Catholic Church. We have, as it was mentioned, we have an extern priest from Poland that's not part of the Diocese of Cleveland, but he's been here for 2 years. Monsignor Tellish has gotten numerous priests over the years to come into the Cleveland Diocese. And actually 2 current priests that are part of the diocese are still here from just his working of getting priests in from Poland. We have 450 families as parishioners. We have 30% of our parishioners coming to Mass on our weekends, which is well above the national average. We're small potatoes as compared to a lot of places, but we have people coming in, we have money, we meet the criteria of a vibrant parish life. Our buildings are in excellent shape, so it's beyond us why Bishop Lennon chose to close us. He gave us no concrete answer in his letter as to why he was agreeing with the cluster's recommendations. He did respond to one of our people. Numerous letters were sent saying that your Monsignor was too old. Now that's documented age discrimination in my book, and again, looking at some of the popes that have been around, I don't agree with that. But he could not return to me, and I am the primary person for the process here at St. Casimir's Church, why he closed. chose us to go ahead and close. We did meet with the bishop, myself, the head of the parish council, and one of the people who was very instrumental in our alumni group. And again, Bishop was very cordial to us, met with us. You know, but he's that poker face kind of guy. You couldn't glean from him anything that he was thinking about other than the fact that he voiced what we wanted to hear. He was interested in what we had to say. A lot of information we brought to him he says he didn't know about. I don't know if that's true, but nonetheless he closed us again. I wrote the appeal to Rome. It was a 27-page letter with 300 pages of supporting documents as to why I believe Bishop Lennon was full of baloney. Of course, had to do it in a professional manner, which I did. Sent it to Washington. They sent a letter back to the diocese there that they have the appeal letter, and they did forward it up to the Vatican in the diplomatic pouch. So if we can believe them, our appeal letter, all of its supporting documents are now in the Vatican. We are very active with the Polish community, as with St. Barbara's Church, and the Polish Priests Association is we are very fortunate in that the head of the National Priests Association is Father Eric Gorzich here in Westlake at St. Bernadette's, and he is a big, big advocate for the Polish heritage, and he actually asked Bishop Lennon to keep St. Barbara's and St. Casimir's open. And that's part of our supporting documents. I'm actively working with him to go through this Polish, this Polish section again. But if you want to talk with me afterwards, I'll be glad to do that. But we're in the appeal process.
Well, next week, but I want to footnote something on the age discrimination, just two things. One, not a joke, not a one-liner. Recognized religious denominations tend to be exempt from many of the federal laws that otherwise provide protection. And that's certainly true for pension funds, which is a time bomb ticking away in many dioceses. Speaking of the demography and the age of the priests. And the other point, there's an old saying in Rome that goes, young cardinals elect old popes.
St. James.
I'm from St. James in Lakewood, along with Joe Dwyer and Larry Johansson, and we are the biggest church in Lakewood. We are the only church on the western end of Lakewood. We are the home to 1,500 families, over 4,000 parishioners. We have 8 masses a week. We have 3 priests. We have the highest amount of collections. We have the most sacraments. We have the biggest building. We have the most outreach to the community. We were the first church in Lakewood. We are the only church that will be able to house the faithful of Lakewood if more closings happen in the future, which we all know they will. I can't imagine how anybody could say we're not a vibrant parish. If we're not a vibrant parish, I don't know who is. We do need a new roof. We had an estimate done, and we raised more than what we needed to fix the roof. We presented that money to Bishop Lennon. It didn't make a difference. He decided to close us. We were part of the cluster with St. Luke's, St. Clement's, St. Rose of Lima, St. Hedwig, St. Cyril and Methodius. The majority of the cluster committee voted to keep us open. They recommended 2 different scenarios to Bishop Lennon. Both of those scenarios kept us open. There was an outside facilitator assigned to our cluster after the vote had been completed. There were some other churches that kicked up the fuss, and he made the decision without taking it to a vote to include a 3rd recommendation that would close St. James. That's the recommendation that Bishop Lennon ended picking. The other important fact that wasn't addressed by Bishop Lennon, or really by the cluster, is the Catholic education in the city of Lakewood. A couple of years ago, the 3 churches in Lakewood, Clements, Luke, and James, all were innovators, and they decided that in order to save money and work together, and in the spirit of all this clustering, they were going to merge the schools into Lakewood Catholic Academy. St. James is one of the 3 churches that subsidizes Lakewood Catholic Academy. The school gets $181,000 a year from St. James. The school is also going to be in financial trouble if St. James closes. We appealed to Bishop Lennon twice. There was a group that met with him. We've been rejected twice. I did write a canon appeal. It has gone to the Vatican. And I mean, we firmly believe that we're vibrant, we're necessary, we're important to the city of Lakewood, and we firmly believe that we shouldn't be suppressed.